Okay, so today you're definitely going to need a block, if not something higher. We're going to be looking at revolved triangle. So if you don't remember, triangle's the pose where the legs are straight and we're tipping down. In revolved triangle, we're going to be spinning the torso and lifting the opposite arm. So what I want you to do, grab your block, come to stand nice wide-legged, the same way that we would have came into triangle in these tutorials before. You're going to turn your right foot forwards and you're going to take the block on its highest setting to the outside of that foot. Okay, now you might need more if you're really tight in those hamstrings. I wouldn't suggest stacking the blocks like so because they're going to be wobbly, but you could take your other block into like a T position and that'll give you a bit more support. Okay, now from here, if we want to get our hips to come all the way forwards, that's going to be a torque on the knee. Remember warrior one? That's the same position we want that back foot. So we're just going to slightly turn that back foot on a 45. Okay, that's just going to take the stress out of our knee. Now we need to engage the butt cheek of that left leg. That's going to squeeze to pull right hip back, left hip forwards. Good, okay. From here, press into that front foot like the gas pedal. Feel the front of the shin engage, the front of the quad engage. So just stay there for a moment, feeling into those legs. Now from here, we're going to cross our left hand onto that block. So right hand comes onto the hip. Slowly start to turn and bring your hand down, okay? Doesn't matter how high it is. Now before we do anything else, pull your right hip back, left hip forward. You're going to feel this in your right hamstring. Then on your next inhale, maybe start to see if you can turn your chest towards the right side. It may not go very far. And then the last bit of this is to see if you can lift your right hand high. Now, depending on spinal mobility, depending on hamstring mobility, depending on shoulder mobility, it might not mean that your hand can come all the way up. So take it in stages. Stage one might just be staying with the block and squaring the hips. You know, stage two, you might just be turning the chest. Lifting that arm all the way up and stacking the hands on top of each other. That's kind of the end of the pose. And you're working on really actively engaging those legs. Okay, so let's just see how that feels on the other side. So switch it up, okay? Let's come back into this position so that we're doing the same thing. So legs nice and wide, turn your left foot forwards, take your blocks. I'm gonna go a little bit lower this time, which is silly because my left hamstring is much tighter. Back leg, turn it at 45 and take those feet, if they're directly behind each other, a little bit more like railway tracks. Squeeze your right butt cheek, boom, pulling that hip forwards, and then draw into that gas pedal, pull that left leg bone back. Good, hands on the hips, take an inhale, and as you exhale, start to hinge forwards. Notice if that knee wants to bend, bring right hand onto the block. If that's just way too intense of a twist, just bring your hand down onto the block, okay? Sometimes taking the block over to the outside of the foot is too much of a rotation. So it is fine to bring your hand just down onto the block, straight down, okay? That's a totally fine option. Before we do anything else, we try to square off those hips. So we're pulling left hip back, right hip forwards. Maybe you start to twist the spine. Maybe you take the gaze up. Maybe that hand comes up to the sky. Okay, so all of those options are there. The block can either go to the inside of the foot, okay, so it's less of a twist, or to the outside of the foot to give you more of a twist. That is completely up to you. So that's your revolved triangle, really nice stretch on the hamstrings.